4 goals, 3 points. And yet, the score somehow tells only part of the story. Because when England stepped onto the field against Croatia, this wasn't supposed to become one of the most entertaining matches of the tournament so far. It was supposed to be professional, controlled, predictable. Instead, it became something very different. A match filled with momentum swings, a match filled with pressure, a match that kept asking the same question over and over again. Every time Croatia fought back, would England have another answer? Because on football's biggest stage, scoring goals is one thing. Responding when the pressure returns is something completely different. And before the night was over, England would be forced to answer that question again and again. Long before the first whistle, this match already carried weight. Not because it would decide the group, not because it would decide the tournament, because of expectations. England arrived carrying the pressure that follows every major contender, the pressure to win, the pressure to entertain, the pressure to look like a team capable of going all the way. Millions were watching. Every attack would be analyzed. Every mistake would be discussed. And every moment would contribute to the growing conversation surrounding England's World Cup campaign. Croatia, meanwhile, arrived with a different mindset. The pressure wasn't entirely on them. The spotlight wasn't entirely on them. Most of the attention belonged to England, and teams carrying less pressure can become dangerous. They play freely, they take risks, they embrace uncertainty, which is exactly why the opening minutes felt so important. Because for a few moments before kickoff, it genuinely felt like either team could seize control. But the pressure was only beginning. But then the ball started rolling, and England immediately sent a signal. A dangerous attack, a quick movement, a sudden opening. For a moment, it felt like the breakthrough might arrive immediately. But it wasn't a goal. Not yet. It was a warning. England were finding space. England were finding rhythm. And Croatia could already feel the pressure beginning to build. The crowd sensed it. The players sensed it. And every English attack seemed to carry a little more danger than the one before. Yet Croatia refused to disappear. They continued competing. They continued believing. And for a brief moment, the match still felt balanced. But that balance wasn't going to last forever, because the pressure was only beginning. And only minutes later, the warning became reality. England moved forward once again. Another attack, another opening, another moment that forced Croatia into action. This time, the response wasn't enough. The ball found the net. The stadium erupted. The English supporters exploded with relief. And just like that, the atmosphere changed. England had the start they were hoping for, but the goal itself wasn't the most important part. It was what happened afterward. Because Croatia suddenly found themselves chasing the game. The pressure increased. The task became harder. And the match immediately began moving in a different direction. At 1-0, Croatia still had time. Plenty of time. One attack could change everything. One moment of quality could erase England's advantage. But instead of slowing down, England kept pushing. They kept attacking. They kept forcing difficult decisions. And Croatia could feel the momentum beginning to grow. Yet the biggest moments of the night were still waiting to arrive. At 1-0, Croatia still believed they could recover. At 1-0, one moment could still change everything. And eventually, that moment arrived. A dangerous attack, a sudden opening, a finish that changed the atmosphere inside the stadium. The ball found the net. The score was level. And for the first time all night, uncertainty returned. Not panic, not fear, but uncertainty. Because everything that looked comfortable only moments earlier suddenly felt different. The Croatian players believed. The Croatian supporters believed. And England now faced a very different challenge. Not protecting a lead, responding to adversity, responding to pressure, responding to a team that had just dragged itself back into the match. But that was when England revealed something important. They didn't panic. They didn't retreat. They didn't allow frustration to take control. Instead, they responded immediately. Another attack, another dangerous movement, another finish. The lead returned. The stadium erupted once again. And just like that, the momentum shifted back. Yet the story was far from over. Because Croatia refused to disappear. They kept fighting. They kept pushing. And before long, they found another breakthrough. Another goal. Another response. Another reminder that this match wasn't going to be decided easily. 2 goals each. The stadium could hardly believe it. And suddenly, the biggest question of the night became impossible to ignore. Which team would find the next answer? Because the pressure was only growing. And the biggest moment of the night was still waiting to arrive. But the biggest moment of the night was still waiting to arrive. Because World Cups have a habit of revealing character when pressure reaches its highest point. And for England, that moment was approaching. At 2-2, everything felt open. Every attack looked dangerous. Every mistake felt expensive. Every minute seemed capable of changing the entire story. Croatia could sense an opportunity. England could sense it too. And for a while, the match felt like it could swing in either direction. Then came the breakthrough. Another attack, another opening, another finish. 3-2. The stadium exploded. The players celebrated. The supporters celebrated. And suddenly the pressure shifted once again. Croatia now faced a very different challenge. Not finding an equalizer, finding another one. But chasing games creates risks, and risks create space. England knew it. England sensed it. And as Croatia pushed forward searching for answers, England found one final opening, one final attack, one final finish. 4-2. And just like that, the biggest question of the night had been answered. Because this no longer felt like a team simply collecting 3 points. This felt like a team sending a message delivered under pressure, a message delivered against quality opposition. But World Cups rarely allow teams to feel comfortable for long, and the biggest questions were still waiting to be answered. As the final minutes disappeared, the results seemed clear. England were in control. Croatia were running out of answers. But the scoreline only told part of the story. Because this match had become about much more than 4 goals, it had become about response. The response that every contender must eventually provide. The response that separates good teams from dangerous ones. And on this night, England responded every time they were challenged. Every time Croatia found a way back into the match, England found another answer. That matters, especially at a World Cup, especially against an opponent capable of punishing mistakes. Because there were moments when this match could have slipped away. Moments when momentum seemed ready to change sides. Moments when uncertainty returned. Yet England never allowed uncertainty to become panic. They remained aggressive. They remained confident. And eventually, they turned that confidence into victory. But there is another side to this story. And that side belongs to Croatia. Because despite the defeat, they showed something important. They refused to disappear. They refused to surrender. Twice they found a response. Twice they forced England to work for control. And for long stretches of the match, they looked capable of creating a very different ending. Which is exactly why this result feels so significant. England earned the victory, but they also created something else. Expectation. Because every strong performance creates new questions, new pressure, new standards. And now the rest of the tournament will be watching closely. Which raises an even bigger question. Did England simply win an entertaining football match? Or did they just send the first major warning of Group L? But what do you think? Did England prove they have the firepower to challenge anyone at World Cup 2026? Or did Croatia expose weaknesses that stronger opponents will eventually target? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoy cinematic football stories like this one, be sure to subscribe to Final Whistle for more unforgettable moments from World Cup 2026. Because while England celebrate and Croatia search for answers, the tournament is already moving forward. And trust me, this story is only getting started.